background noise doesn't interfere with the presentations. And as we already said, bring your own dinner, bring your own, drink, whatever you want to bring to the table while you're participating in this virtual dinner. So I just want to acknowledge that this has just been a really strange year, and it's being made manifest right here as we have this sort of Zoom dinner. One of the things that I have found this year is I realize that I take a lot of things for granted, like being able to interact with people personally, being able to have our annual membership dinner where I remember last year we had a lot of fun. We brought in that new game we played. Each table was a team and we played games, and it was it's always a lot of fun to connect with everyone. And so this is just an example for me of what 2020 has taught me, is don't take those things for granted. And I look forward to next year, and hopefully we'll all be together again at maybe Lake Junaluska, as we've always been, and having a buffet meal and our silent auction. But anyway, I appreciate this, even though we can't do that right now. And our members are just so important to us. They help define who we are. They help propel us towards our goals. And they also help us leverage money to do the things that we do in the county. All of the programs that we have for education and restoration. It's our membership that helps us leverage specifically $24.78 for every dollar for grants, fundraising events, earned income, and other sources. I think that's a pretty powerful number, and we're proud of it, but we can't do it without you. You help us make us very effective and make a difference in the community, and we just don't want you to forget that you're part of that. So I think at this point I want to thank some folks specifically for their service over the year. And I think, Eric, you're going to share your screen.
Yep, there it is.
First of all, I want to acknowledge our board of directors. I thank you all for your dedication. This is really a wonderful group of folks to work with. Yeah, and going on to staff, Eric, Christine, and Caitlin are just, I'm amazed and grateful for their talents and hard work. We're so lucky to have such quality folks working for us day in and day out, and we appreciate it so much. And then we can't get anything done without our volunteers. Y'all help us monitor streams, clean up streams, plant trees, remove invasive plants, stencil storm drains, and lead watershed events and take people out into the beautiful places we have in the county and teach them about things. So our volunteers are so critical to what we do and helping us get things done, and we thank you so much. So now we're going to transition to our guest speaker. We're so excited to have Susan here tonight from the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. She is the education branch chief for the park. And I don't want to steal too much thunder from what she's going to share with us, but I am going to brag on you a little bit, Susan, as an introduction. First of all, you've been a longtime supporter of conservation and education work in Haywood County, and that is extremely meaningful to Haywood Waterways, as well as the folks that live here. You've worked extensively with the school system, Soil and Water Conservation District, with Haywood Waters, and many others to implement a variety of science-based education programs. And you are so knowledgeable and work so well with people that you received a national prestigious award of the 2019 Public Lands Alliance Agency Leadership Award, which is awesome. But the thing that really gets me, I love this one the best. Because of the work you've done with the All Taxa Biodiversity Project, you have been honored by having a newly discovered species of lichen named after you. And I mean, that is like the coolest thing I've ever heard. So I'm going to try to say it, and I'm going to pass it to you after this. If I said it wrong, you shall correct me. And it is a Lecanora saxinia. That's the name of the lichen?
Yeah, close enough. Saxiana, I think, but yes.
Saxiana. Okay. Well, welcome, Susan. And thank you for coming. And I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us tonight.
All right. Well, I am so excited to be here. I'm a big supporter of Haywood Waterways and the work you all do. It's a small nonprofit in terms of size, but a big result. So you all have been doing incredible things in Haywood County. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have a presentation, and hopefully I can go ahead and get that into. All right. So can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
All right. And at one point, I probably will have people write in the chat box, but I can't see the chat box when I'm sharing my screen. So I'll probably have Chris or someone, just tell me what's being what is being written in the chat box. Because I'm used to interacting with an audience, and of course, we're all adapting to COVID. So, so this is one of my favorite places in the park. I was fortunate to be able to work up at Purchase Knob as my office location for 18 years. And now I'm down at Econo-Lefty, still in North Carolina, but my new position as the education branch chief, I no longer get to sit up at Purchase Knob as my office space, but it is still definitely one of my favorite places in the park. So this evening, what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you some of what's happening in the park in Haywood County. And I'm going to set a little timer for myself so I don't go over. And you all are local to here, so you probably know some of the things that make the Smokies special. And for me, my favorite thing are the 3,000 miles of stream that we have. It's my happy place when I'm sitting in the dentist chair and I have my teeth being drilled. I go to one of those streams and imagine the moss-covered rocks and just the beauty of the clarity of the water. But we're also fortunate that we have 5 historic districts in the park. Areas like Cataloochee Valley is one of our historic districts. We have amazing vistas. We have both cultural and natural resources that we protect. But the first thing I'm going to ask you all to put in the chat box is, what do you think the #1 reason is why people say they come to the Smokies? What do they want to see more than anything else of our resources? We do survey visitors every year. We up at Klingman's Dome typically, and we say, well, why did you come to the Smokies? What do you hope to see more than anything? So someone could tell me what you're seeing in the chat box, since I can't see it. I don't know.
I put down mountain views.
Mountain
Susan.
views. It's in the top 3, but it's not #1. What
See
else?
waterfalls?
Actually, I guess here's the chat box. You probably can see that. I see waterfalls, mountain views. So waterfalls and mountain views are 2 and 3. So what's the #1 thing people want to see? So I think I heard it. Who said it?
Bear.
Bears, you got it. So bears are #1. So when you survey people, the #1 thing they want to see are bears. So we are lucky. We also are an amazing place for biodiversity. And it was already mentioned a little bit about the All Taxa Biodiversity Inventory. So just a little update on that. We are currently at 10,411 new park records. So those are things that had never been seen before within the boundary of the park. And these are photographs of some of those new park records. And you're looking maybe at this millipede and like, how could someone never have seen this crazy looking millipede with the little fuzzy things? That millipede is about the size of a grain of rice, which is why, and it was found up in the high elevation areas around Clayman's Dome. So some of these species are really small, they're obscure. I love this beautiful golden beetle, also a new park record for the park. To me, what's most exciting though, is that we have found 1,028 species new to science, never seen before. And here's my lichen. Are these little brown blobby things. That's named after me. So I am honored though to have a lichen, a species named after me. I didn't have children, so I told my father that this is his grandchild. Here's his legacy that will carry on our name. Is the Lichenora saxiana. But 1,000 species in Great Smoky Mountains National Park, brand new to science. That brings our current total up to 21,080 species, which to me again is really exciting that we're finding all this new life here in the Smokies. One thing I think about this as like, our job as park rangers is to preserve and protect the park for future generations. And to do that, we need to understand it. And we were protecting the park for about 10% of what's actually in the park. So it's like trying to fix your car when you only know 10% of the parts of that vehicle. Very difficult to do. So this all tax biodiversity inventory is so important because we have so many changes, so many things that are happening that are impacting our park. So I am going to be focusing in on Haywood County, some of the areas in the park that are in Haywood County. Actually, some of my favorite places: Purchase Knob, Big Creek, Cataloochee Valley, Balsam Campground area. Those are all in Haywood County. So I'm going to be giving you updates on a variety of different things. It's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly though, because not all of it is good news. So this photograph, Big Creek area, was taken in April, right after, or not April, in May, right after the park reopened during COVID. And we totally understand that the park is an area of refuge and we all need that healing space of being outdoors during this time. We had just spent about $1 million on the parking area and revamping and restructuring the area around Big Creek. Work was actually happening while the park was closed during COVID. The next photographs I'm going to show you, this is one weekend after we opened the park up. We happened to have a lot of rain. People couldn't find parking areas. So, well, what do? You just knock no parking sign over and you park right there. Another area is, the historic fence. People just drove right into it and parked their vehicles. So this is something that we're dealing with all over the park. I'll talk a little bit later about the visitor use experience project that we're doing in the park. But as I mentioned, we just spent $1 million. So I was going to say, we rehabbed the parking area at Big Creek, but you can't really tell anymore because it just took one busy weekend in May to destroy everything that we had just worked on. But we have been doing a lot of other road work in the park. Cataloochee Valley, while the park was closed in March and April, also had some flooding. So we had to, even when the park reopened, that area remained closed because we had to fix some landslide areas. And those of you who go into Cataloochee may know that the state had just completed a pretty big project to fix that narrow section of the scary road to get to Cataloochee Valley, even before you get down into the valley. So all that work has been completed down in Cataloochee. We will be doing some more work over the winter to remove some hazard trees, and we're going to be restriping the paved part of the road in the valley. We also did a lot of work on the trails, especially some of the bridges in Cataloochee Valley on the trails around Caldwell Fork. Though I will say there's one bridge that's not going to be replaced that just washes out every time we have a big storm. So if you hike to the Boogerman Trail, you're still going to have to cross some streams. But we did redo some of the other bridges that don't wash out so frequently. Also in Cataloochee, we're doing some work on structures. We're getting ready to redo the no longer existing exhibits in the Palmer House. So the kitchen area, which is the part of the building that you can see on the right to the chimney, that's where the exhibits will be. So we're redoing the floors in that section. We just redid the roof, though this photograph is older than that work. And we repainted the outside of the house. We're also revamping the fishing cabin it's across the road from the Palmer House. It's getting the foundations shored up. It's going to get a new roof, and we're also doing some internal work. So probably COVID has delayed a lot of the exhibit work that we're doing, but probably within the next year or so, you'll see a very different looking Palmer House down in Cataloochee Valley. Water quality update, I know very important to Haywood Waterways. So this is in Little Cataloochee, the photograph. This is an area where we've done some brook trout restoration, which I will be talking about. But I'm also going to talk about just the quality of the water besides the restoration. So, you know, for me, this slide is pretty, I don't know, impactful, I guess. So we have 157 miles of stream in our high elevation, which includes Haywood County, where the stream is so acidic, it's basically dead. And this is based off of 2019 data. So it's a 2020 update, but the data is from 2019. And in those waters, it's so acidic that we really don't have any fish or aquatic life. Just a small number of amphibians and very little plant life. And then you can see, if you look at the red, the orange, and the yellow, we have about half of our streams, half of our waterways are either chronically, extremely, or just sensitive. And then we have a half of our waterways in the park that are doing really well. That chronically acidic area, that's all listed as 303D, so highly imperiled waters under the Clean Water Act. And the green area that you see, most of those waters are classified as outstanding waters under the same act. So in the same watershed, you can have the water starting high up in the mountain as highly imperiled and leaving the park as an outstanding water. And we have that in almost all of the watersheds where we have this acid problem. So just to show you a little bit where this is coming from, and I know Bill Akers on this call, so he'll appreciate this information, because Land to Sky has been really, his organization has been really great about helping with data and education. But all the red dots you see on this map of the US, especially east of the Mississippi, those are sources of air pollution. This is old data, but it's really just the location of the circles. Just know that those are sources of pollution, whether most of them are factories or coal burning power plants. You can actually see the outline of the Ohio River on here. And you can see, again, west of the Mississippi, not as many red circles, but the blue arrows are showing you the prevailing winds, and these winds are coming, they're attracted to the southern Appalachian Mountains because we have the tallest peaks. And then when that air gets here, it stagnates. So this next slide gets a little in the weeds, but I think it's really important to understand what's happening in our high elevations. What you're seeing here is 24 hours worth of data starting at midnight and going till midnight. And you can see in the lower elevations, these valley areas, Waynesville would have this same pattern. You see low levels, and this happens to be ground level ozone. But this pattern is for air pollution in general. And you can see that in the low elevations, as the day warms up, air pollution levels get higher. The sun goes down, those pollution levels go down. But the pollution doesn't disappear. It doesn't, you know, it's not gone. What happens is that warm air rises and it gets trapped by the cooler air at our mountain peaks here in the park. And it can be along the Blue Ridge Parkway. It goes all up and down the Appalachian chain, really, this pattern. So it's almost like somebody flushes an air pollution toilet down in the valleys, whether that's Waynesville or Cades Cove. And then that air, instead of going down the drain, it goes up the mountain where it gets trapped at the high elevation peaks where the air is cooler. And in the summertime, what happens to make that disappear is a rainstorm. We get thunderstorms almost every afternoon. So all that air pollution that's there at the highest elevations becomes acid deposition. And that's why we have so many miles of chronically acidic waters in the park. And it really has an impact. So we do rely on volunteers to help us collect water samples. Most of our volunteers come from Trout Unlimited, so there's certainly room for waterways if you all want to help us do that. We have to send our tab, which so we appreciate that because these lab samples can get quite expensive. But we're looking at pH, nitrate, and other parameters. So we have certain watersheds where we collect the data. We have, I think it's about 40 years worth of yearly data now for some of these data sets. So really important information. To get to the trout restoration in Cataloochee, Little Cataloochee Creek, in 2017, we treated 4.8 kilometers of with anamycin that we're seeing is it does not impact the invertebrates and some of the smaller vertebrates in the stream, like salamanders, for instance. But it does impact fish. So what we do before we treat with anamycin is we do electroshocking to remove the native species of fish. We hold them to the side, we treat, and then after the the water is safe again, we will go ahead and put those fish back into the water. And in 2018, we moved in 183 of our native brook trout. And then in 2019 and this past summer, we did monitoring and we did not find any rainbow trout in the areas that we treated. So we will continue to monitor to make sure that rainbow trout are coming in, but the sites we pick areas that have natural barriers to keep the rainbow trout from being able to get back up. So there's usually either a waterfall or some sort of barrier. So, Little Cataloochee Creek is actually one of the more recent creeks that we've treated. So we did a lot of creeks around Fontana Lake and over in Tennessee. Little update on exotic plants and pests. What you're seeing in this picture is a very large ash tree. We do have some old growth forest near Cataloochee that has some of these huge ash trees, and they are infested with the emerald ash borer. So here's what the ash borer looks like. It is actually a really beautiful beetle, but it is quite voracious in its killing of ash trees. They were introduced into the park, we believe, on firewood that came from outside areas. Everything in the map that you see that is green, those are areas where we have ash tree. And if you look to the right of the map, you can see Cataloochee Valley, the Cataloochee Divide, Big Creek. Those are all areas that we do have a lot of ash trees. So one thing about this ash treatment, it costs $480 a quart for this systemic. It's actually an injection that we give to the tree. And a big tree like you saw in this last photo, I mean, that's a lot of quarts it takes to treat a tree that big. And it takes many, many, many hours to actually bring that, a treatment into its tree. It's time consuming, it costs a lot of money. And again, Friends of the Smokies are a big reason why we have the both the staff as well as the funds to do this type of treatment. We're still treating for hemlock trees, and in Haywood County, they're pretty much from around Purchase Knob down into Cataloochee Valley, again, out in the Big Creek and Davenport Gap areas. We treated 2,400, and that's just Haywood County. That's not the overall park. So Haywood County got a lot of love when it came to treatment for hemlock. We also have our exotic vegetation crew working on spotted knapweed at Purchase Knob. And we think that came in from some photo up at Purchase, the equipment that they brought in. We have a lot of garlic mustard, Big Creek, Boston Mountain Campground, and a lot of multiflora in Little Cataloochee. It was put in a mitigation for flooding, so we are working to take that out. One thing I can say, we do not have any kudzu in the park, and that is because of the effort of our extremely vigilant vegetation crew. So they do great work. I'm sure you're all wondering about elk. We are trying to do a better job of counting the elk in the park. People often ask us, how many elk do we have? A lot of them are out of the park, so we're working with North Carolina Wildlife Resources and a researcher at a UT to figure out what is the number. We've been using counting methods that they use out west, but it's not working very well because we have such dense forest. We're actually moving to to doing DNA work of fecal samples for elk, and we think that this is going to work, but it's going to take a couple years of studying to make sure, to see if it's really giving us a decent estimation of the elk population. So we really actually don't know how many elk are in the park or even in the area. We do know there's quite a number of them, though. Their number one mortality is cars. It used to be bears getting the elk calves, but because so many of the elk are hanging out around Econo-Lefty and crossing I-40, we're now finding that cars are the number one predator of our elk. And we're actually doing another study with 20 different partners led by the National Parks Conservation Association to study the feasibility of wildlife corridors at I-40. So what we're looking for are hotspots where wildlife are being killed. We do know that animals will use safe passageways. We know that they use the underpass under the Appalachian Trail where it crosses under I-40 quite often. And so we're looking at other areas where we can recommend the DOT to have wildlife crossings at across I-40, above I-40 rather than below it. We actually had 2 people this fall that were chased by elk at Econo-Lefty because they pulled their cars off to the side of the road to take pictures and just got a little too close while the elk were in their rut. And the people were not seriously injured, but they were chased and actually gored by the antlers of, so just a reminder to stay, 50 yards from elk, especially during the rut season, because they don't like us. It's that simple. A new study that we just started this past summer was looking at airborne microplastics. And this is a very, it's a newer issue, but it certainly impacts our waters. So we are hoping to start a citizen science project where we use community volunteers to go out into our creeks and collect water samples. We were supposed to develop that protocol this summer with some researchers that are out of Chattanooga, but because of COVID, that got put on hold. But we're hoping soon we'll have, and adopt a plot study for looking at the presence of microplastics in our waterways. And of course, we know it's getting into the food chain, and we have a lot of concerns about that, both in the human food chain as well as in the animals in the park. So this photograph, I was talking about visitor use and showed you some pictures of impact at Big Creek. This is Laurel Falls this summer, July 5th, 2020, during a pandemic. I do not see a mask. I don't see any social distancing. And people seem happy in this photograph. We're not so happy about this. This is overuse of a resource. It's, to us, it's not a visitor experience we want people to have. We want people to have a pleasant visitor experience. So we are working at looking at 6 different areas in the park to see if we can come up with some mitigations or ways to balance the protection of the resource and the visitor experience, not wanting to impact, though, the, we're not really looking to close areas, but we do need to figure something out. The parking at places like Big Creek and Laurel Falls, Klingman's Dome, Cades Cove, these are some of the areas that we're looking at. Deep Creek is another location. you know, what can we do? What can we do to make the experience better for the visitor and better for the park? So we actually had a public comment period. We had public meetings that we did via Zoom throughout the summer. That comment period is currently closed, but once we have some look at the suggestions that we got from people and we come up with some, you know, some thoughts, we're hoping that we can go ahead and have some more public meetings so we can get more feedback. So keep your eyes out for that as well. And I'm just going to wrap up my presentation with just, if you do want to help out, there are ways, if you're interested in helping us collect water samples. Matt Cope, our fisheries biologist, oversees that particular program. And I have his email there, matt_Cope@nps.gov. We have a tree phenology data collection, and Mark and Donna help us collect data. There's other folks who have helped us collect data in Haywood waterways, but you can adopt a plot, Davenport Gap, Cataloochee, Purchase Knob. And we do that training usually in February. We will do it remotely this year, but we will also do some socially distanced face-to-face training at each plot. We put out calls usually in the Smoky Mountain News and the Mountaineer, but if you're interested in getting information about when we'll have those trainings, you can email Kalia_Johnson. She's an AmeriCorps member, so she's got a partner email, so it's at partner.nps.gov. And of course, if you don't want to give time and just want to help support things like, you know, treating ash trees and helping hire seasonal staff, just support some of our nonprofits, Friends of the Smokies and Great Smoky Mountains Association. So I think I went a couple minutes over, but not too bad. For me, this is really good because I tend to talk a lot. So if you want to get in touch with me, here's my contact information, and I will, I guess, take a question or two if I am allowed by Eric and Suzanne.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Susan. I always love hearing you talk. You always have great information and stories. So yes, we definitely have time for a few questions.
So I don't know if anybody, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you all.
Well, if it's okay, I might just go ahead. I did have one question, but I just want to thank you, first of all. That was really informative to me, and I'm so glad that this will be available later for other people to hear, because I personally got a lot out of it. I just want to go back up to the acidity issues with the 303D listing. I was amazed that your answer to that was that it was atmospheric. I thought it was going to be, you know, I've heard of, is it the Anakista rock or whatever? I've heard of other sources of acid, you know, problems, but I guess I was just surprised that that was atmospheric. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, because in some of the areas where we have the problem, we don't have the Anakista rock. It is true that when you cut into that Anakista rock, it does, it will acidify a stream. You know, the one area where we do have that is up around Newfound Gap, because Anakista rock, when that road was built, it did cut into Anakista. We do have, you know, mitigation that we've done around that area with limestone. But no, it is atmospheric. And we have a lot of data that we've been collecting for a long time to show that, because again, some of these 303D streams are in areas where we don't have Anakista.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm going to mute myself.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you, Susan. We know how to get hold of you. Got more information, but I would love to talk with you, as well as those contacts, about some volunteer opportunities. We always have a lot of people interested in wanting to do stuff, and you know, if we can help some partners as well, we'll do what we can to recruit you some volunteers.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the microplastics study. I think that's going to be a really interesting one, because we'll need volunteers not only to collect samples, but to look through the samples and count microplastics under the microscope. So keep your eyes out for that one. It'll probably be 2022 before that one's ready for the public, though.
They look like snowflakes. Everyone was different.
Yes, everyone is different. Great. Well, thank you all, and keep up the great work. I love Haywood Waterways, so
thank you,
do
Susan.
a great job. I'm going to sign off. Yay.
All right, well, it is my turn. I'm going to share my screen to do the year in review. And Susan mentioned about talking too much, and I'm known to talk too much. I apologize ahead of time. Don, stop shaking your head there. But that, you know, we do a lot, and there's always so much to talk about. So I will try to be brief. This is a great way to start this presentation right here, because of course everything about this year from March on was COVID related. Having to adapt, it certainly affected our ability to do activities and fundraise and do education events, but we adapted and we got through it. So in the downtime, those early days, gave us time to reflect on many things, but I think one thing I thought a lot about is, you know, what are we doing? Why do we do our work? And of course, there's a lot of reasons. We do it for life, and there's a tremendous diversity of life, as Susan touched on, but in the Southern Appalachian Mountains themselves, caddisflies, darters, flowering plants, salamanders, highest diversity of those species anywhere on the planet, right here in our own backyards. We feel very blessed for that. But of course, beyond wildlife, for our own perspective, you know, we're doing this work to protect our drinking water supplies. I just read a publication that when it comes to conservation, drinking water was the #1 reason that people support conservation work. Makes sense, drinking water. Makes great beer, makes great coffee, how we need it every day in our lives. But of course, it helps grow food. You know, our food doesn't come from the grocery store, it comes from a farmer. And around here especially, recreation, tourism, very important parts of our own daily lives, health and well-being, jobs, and the economy. So we have a lot of great reasons here in Haywood County to do the work that we do. And I also want to touch on something else that I was thinking about. And I'm going to show you some projects in the past. I'm going to show you some pictures, some updates. And I had an opportunity a couple months ago. This year is the 25th anniversary of the Pigeon River Fund. And they did a special publication and they highlighted Haywood Waterways. You know, much of what we do mirrors what the Pigeon River Fund does. And so I had a great opportunity to show their photographer a bunch of the sites that they help fund. And this first one here is right there in Clyde. This was the old park that got flooded a lot. This was the result of the 2004 flood, some mitigation dollars that were done to restore this, but they were still having issues. Scouring out the sediment detention ponds, and they weren't able to get anything to grow. I mean, it was doing its job. It's a floodplain before it is a park, but the town still wanted to try to protect it, stabilize it, and so the idea was to plant a whole lot of trees, create a forested floodplain, what was there before. So it's still going to flood, but it's the trees and are going to do a lot better job of holding things together. And the Haywood Soil and Water Conservation District, Equinox Environmental, Cherokee Preservation Foundation have all contributed to this. Over $50,000 of trees have been put in there. And it's really neat to see that transformation. I can't wait to see it in like 10 or 20 years to see these trees. They only lost a couple, which is standard when you're transplanting vegetation. Most of them are doing quite well. This next project is right there at Lake Junaluska. This was a project designed by Haywood Community College student, or inspired by him, I should say, to address stormwater coming off the parking lot, and also to address the issue about the greenway that stopped and started at the opposite ends of that parking lot, which of course you don't want people walking through a parking lot being used by cars. So the idea was to extend that little buffer between the parking lot and the lake, put a greenway in and plant it with vegetation. And so that's the same perspective now. Of course, the vegetation does a great job of holding that eroding shoreline. It was an eroding shoreline together. So fantastic project. Here we are at Shelton Branch. The stream was pretty close to the road there. The town was concerned about it undercutting that road, and there were places that it was. There were some gabion walls along that right bank that were starting to collapse, some spots of erosion. So how do we, the idea was to move it away from the road and also take care of the erosion issues. So here's what it looks like now. In the background, that culvert, that's what I was standing on top of to take this picture. And so now you see the downstream perspective as well. And I got another picture of this project here in a little bit. So what I'm amazed about is I've driven by this project in the heaviest of rainfalls, and the engineer that designed this, I've never seen it come out of this bank. I mean, he designed it perfect. Mickey Clemens, Michael Baker, say thank you. Great little spot. Another project within the town of Waynesville, Chestnut Park. They're having some major issues along this small little tributary. You wouldn't think a small tributary like that would erode so bad, but it was. And just no vegetation. And the idea was to go in there and put in these in-stream structures to help stabilize the bank, plant it up and down with vegetation, provide that long-term stability, and it's looking very beautiful now. It's a park that I never knew existed for the first 10 years of my stay at Haywood Waterways. And then after discovering it, the town looked for some help. It's a beautiful place, just above frog level. And then Elevated Park. Bioswitch is one we just finished last year. Actually, I highlighted this at the last dinner, but I'll show you a quick updated picture. This is what it was, parking spots, but Dave Angel donated that area, ripped them out, got rid of impervious surfaces, and replaced it with this bioswale, a stormwater control device that slowly filters water as it flows through the ditch, and then at one end goes in the culvert where it gets underground and helps cool off. So we got swamp milkweed in there, pollinators, all kinds of plants. I can't remember, Caitlin, if you remember how many plants were in there, speak up or drop a chat in. And then just recently,
yeah, it's over 1,000.
1,000 plants, and it took a huge volunteer effort. And then just
yes, our army of volunteers helped with that.
Yeah, we got a nice sign in there now too that recognizes not just the bioswale but also the stabilization stream bank project that happened just next door. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to go into some of our other restoration work. And I put this first picture there on purpose. This might have been the first tree going in at River's Edge Park. But besides COVID, another trend that we saw this year was really the last couple of years, just the exceptional rainfalls we've had. Frequency, not just frequency, but also duration and volume that's fallen. And the number of people contacting us looking for help, both individuals, public organizations, homeowners associations, just looking for help to address stormwater eroding stream banks. And to be honest with you, I'd love to help everyone, but we just can't. We don't have the grant money out there to do that. But what we can do is offer some free technical advice. I always tell people I'm not an engineer, but I've been around them for 20 years, and we also can contact an engineer anytime. The common theme is streamside trees, streamside vegetation. A lot of those places where I see an eroding stream bank, there's no vegetation, no trees or shrubs that have these deep root balls holding everything together. It's usually these exotic grasses that we put in our yards that have very, very short root systems that just can't hold a stream bank together. So I tell folks, you know, planting trees, plant some vegetation in there. It's going to be your best solution. And it doesn't, you can make it wild, but it doesn't have to be wild. Make it ornamental, put in food crops, something like that. So you can still enjoy the stream, but also help stop that erosion. So that is a common theme that I really want to push this next year, is really stream side vegetation. And one way to do that is this new project we got involved with this year to develop a youth conservation corps. Now, this is a very broad initiative through the local WNC Climate Coalition here in Haywood County, addressing a number of different environmental topics. But I was looking at it from, of course, the water quality protection effort. And so the idea is to engage youth anywhere from 5 years old to college age in planting streamside vegetation. And that can take all steps from identifying what plants go in, creating conceptual plans, where should things go, working with the owners, property owners, getting their permissions, coordinating volunteers, and getting plants in the ground. So this was an effort just recently we did with Western Carolina University, who gave us a grant through their WCU, I got it somewhere in the next few slides, to hire these interns from Western to do the work, do those things that I just mentioned. So this is right here at Shelton Branch, and a group from First United Methodist Church in Waynesville putting about 40 trees and shrubs in the ground that day, along with a good group of students from Western Carolina University. And, oh, those are the interns right there, Mitchell and Harmony, with Jim Geenan there. If you know Jim, or if he's on tonight, he might be. So, and there's a group from Western Carolina University. I'll point out Lane Perry and Lauren Bishop, who couldn't be here tonight, who's on our board of directors, who helped initiate this through Western. I wasn't aware of the program, and they helped push it through, so thank you. Another big thing we did this year was create stormwater management plans for the towns of Waynesville and Clyde. They're both what we call phase 2 stormwater communities, and phase 2 is a program at the state level. They label certain size towns as phase 1 or phase 2, and the idea is to help them address stormwater issues. And we've been doing it for a number of years now, but the state is starting to get serious about it and wanting to ask the towns to do more. And so we created these stormwater management plans that basically give the guidance from education, outreach, public engagement, identifying illicit discharges, training staff, good housekeeping, all kinds of things. And we look forward to helping these towns implement those. Wastewater treatment, of course, continues to be a popular activity. There's no shortage of interest in this program. We've had 11 repairs this year since 2006. You can read those statistics, but I still love this program because it's an instant return on a funder's investment. As soon as they fix that septic system, it is no longer impacting water quality. That's assuming that the water table isn't too high. But we should have those things figured out beforehand. These are a few projects in progress, which should be completed within a few months, very soon. This one is happening down at East Street Park in Waynesville. Phase 1 was, as the camera is facing to my back, to restore an eroding stream bank that was undercutting road. The next step is the next 400 linear feet downstream of that, a very incised stream bank that was probably up to my shoulders, deep, heavily eroding. So the idea is to do what we did at Shelton Branch, relocate it away from this road over here, and then get out in this field and also restore the stream bank. So Beaver Dam Creek dam removal. This project has taken much longer than we initiated, but the permits have finally been applied for, which means the plans are done and we look to actually start to break ground this winter. This was a project I should say RC&D Council is helping to manage this project. They are managing it, it's a key partner. And American Rivers is this one, and they are partnering with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who has a crew that specializes in dam demolition. And this is quite a project, but it'll be a great feat that will remove a fish barrier and restore some heavily eroding stream banks. I should point out that, you know, this pandemic that we're in certainly changed some things, some fundraisers that we were doing, but it did inspire more grant applications. And these are a page of successes that we've had and some projects that will be implemented in 2021. That's the National Fish and Wildlife Federation 5-star program grant for what we're calling Project Love Your Watershed. It's a great title. It's not mine. It's from our partner, Gary Peoples with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that is a program that's going to be implemented throughout the French Broad River Basin, but Haywood Waterways is the grant manager to do streamside plantings, pet waste stations, educational signage, literature, brochures, stream cleanups, whole bunch of things. Looking forward to that. The Crusoe Endowment is to beautify the Canton Water Treatment Plant. If you've ever driven across that bridge on 209 there and looked upstream, it hasn't been painted in a while. So we're going to put a mural on there, kind of highlighting the river, welcome to Canton, and they promised that we could say also a little promotion for Haywood Waterways. So excited about that. The Nassau Grant is through a partner with Southwestern Community College, partner there to get a 5 years worth of funding, mostly for the Youth Conservation Corps program, to help hire some interns and some management, and as well as materials, but also a little bit for our Kids in the Creek program. They wanted to fund youth-oriented programs. And that was the grant right there, the WCU campus theme that gave us those interns I mentioned earlier. Cherokee Preservation Foundation is going to support more plantings focused on river cane at River's Edge Park. So Caitlin helped move some earlier this year over there, but we're going to use this grant to get more in there. And there will be a volunteer opportunity for that. Deer Park Foundation kind of expands those streamside plantings effort and other grants, but also is this neat little education effort to create drink coasters with some inspiring water conservation message, like 10 things you can do at home or something like that. So I look forward to doing that. 205J program, that's from the state. That's to continue our bacteria monitoring throughout the county to help us know where we can help fix failing septic systems or work with the Soil and Water District and NRCS to work with farmers or any other sources that might be bacteria. And then the Pigeon River Fund gave us another grant to continue our septic repair program. That last one, the 319 program, we were tentatively approved for a couple stream bank restoration projects in Waynesville, but we haven't been confirmed yet, and I hope we are. We should know that pretty soon. And you can read through this. We got a number of projects in progress right now, not waiting till next year, but either going to be, we have grant funding for, or we're going to be applying for funding very soon. Now on to some of our education programs, the other specialty we have. This, certainly we scaled back this year, no doubt. If you, of course, many of you recognize your names, have heard this over and over and over again about Kids in the Creek, but if you're not familiar with it, this is our premier education program. It gets every 8th grade student out of the classroom, over there at the Kenton Rec Park, putting on waders, getting in the stream, looking at fish, benthics, understanding stormwater at the enviroscape, and understanding water chemistry. And I always hear back that it's one of their favorite events from 8th grade. So we try to keep this going. Now, this is only the second year that we were not able to hold Kids in the Creek in a calendar year. The first time was back in 2004 after the big hurricanes. But we will be holding it within the school year, meaning it's got moved to the spring. And the one success we've had so far is we did get through the T-shirt design contest, and that's what you see there in the upper left, this year's winner. A beautiful design there. And we don't expect to be able to do it in person. Maintaining hope, though, being optimistic. We are working with the schools and planning that we're going to be going virtual. And so we've videotaped all the resource agencies that usually help us doing their specialty fish, benthics. Here we got Mark Etheridge doing water chemistry at Jukebox Junction there. And we're going to create virtual modules for the students. So we are adapting. It's going to happen. So I'll just point out it's an effective program. You've seen these stats before. It is very beneficial. And getting stats like this is critical for keeping that grant money coming in. So a new project this year was a Sky Island. Actually, it started last year, but we tried to push more this year. And this grant from the Clean Water Management Trust Fund through the Southeast chapter of Trout Unlimited, working with the Forest Service to walk their trails and roads identifying sources of sediment. And that picture on the right is a trail in Graveyard Fields. If you've ever been to Graveyard Fields, Art Loeb Trail up there in the Parkway, what Susan Sachs was saying about high use areas seeing a lot of impact. Those two areas certainly have a lot of trail issues. So the Forest Service is going to take this information that volunteers collect and use it to prioritize projects to repair those sediment issues. We are looking for volunteers, and it is a fun thing to do to go out there and hike and collect this data on your cell phone, and it automatically uploads it to a map. Adopt a Stream, that was something that was fairly easy to adapt to in small groups going out there. You see, we're able to collect 3,000 pounds of trash this year. And what was interesting is that Big Sweep set a record, if I'm right, Christine. About 50 people came out and helped that day. Socially distanced, of course, and help clean up trash. One thing we did to adapt is create this bucket brigade where families, individuals can get a bucket with pickup sticks and all the equipment you need to go do your own cleanups. And all our buckets got rented out, so it's popular. And another thing I'll point out regarding the trash is this was another grant that Christine was able to get through the Tennessee Valley Authority. And part of this grant is to get a new boom right there where Richland Creek comes into Lake Junaluska. And so that's going to be a nice addition there to help keep trash out. Get to Know Your Watershed was very limited. We still held 5 events this year. Hopefully we'll be able to do more next year. We did hold an aquatics workshop for small groups to come, make a reservation, just go snorkeling, flip over rocks right there at Jukebox Junction. So we did get a few people out there for that. And we're going to try to do more snorkeling this year. That's a fun thing to do. And you don't have to get underwater, because I'll tell you in the summer that water's still cold. Doing the plunge in the summer, it can be done around here. But we also have these viewing buckets that if you don't want to stick your head under, you can see a lot of those things. It's very this was a great program that I can't wait to get the results for. This is a value of water economic study, thanks to funding from the Community Foundation. This was another larger French Broad River partnership effort to really get what's the monetary value that the river provides to the region, recreation, jobs, and it's Dr. Stephen Hoff from WCU is leading these business and visitor surveys to try to capture that data. And he actually I just got a draft report the other day. I haven't had time to look at it. I was hoping to before tonight, but just couldn't get to it. But as we get that information, we'll start rolling out to the public very soon. Some of the other traditional education engagement activities we're still able to do, but on a smaller scale. And I'll point out that all our work, I think, still has a wider impact than just within Haywood Waterways, both locally. The two new committees that we're invited to this year is the Chestnut Mountain Park Steering Committee. When that's done, it's going to be a fabulous place to go just east of Canton, and as well as the Waynesville Greenway Oversight Steering Committee to help guide some greenway work here in the town. So, and then we also have a regional impact is even at the state level, those bottom two, that I am part of those groups. We are able to continue our monitoring. VWIN continued. It's an easy thing for individuals to isolate. Benthic macroinvertebrates, SMIE, that's what that is. Was more limited. And then we continue temperature, sediment, bacteria, all very important information that we must continue to get to keep that grant money coming in. All right, I think I'm almost done here. I got to mention membership and financials as a nonprofit group that accepts membership, your money. I want you to point out these things. We have 341 active members, 31 we got this year, which actually is down. The last 3 years off the top of my head have been over 60, almost 50, over 60. So no doubt the pandemic and our ability to do events certainly affected the number of new members we had come in. However, I'll say in a minute here, the fundraisers that we had seemed to do better than we expected. I'll say in a second. You can see how operating income is divided. And those numbers on the right in parentheses, I don't have all the numbers for 2020, but those are what I estimate based on about December 1st, where we were sitting, how we might end up. So a little bit more reliant on grants this year, as dues and fundraising down slightly. I'm not concerned about it right now. We'll see if that trend continues next year. I'll point this out, grant money. We'd like to keep it below 50% or less. That was our target a way long time ago when we used to rely nearly 100% on grants for our operating income. So it's a testament to the board of directors and staff and membership support, community support, helping to support our fundraisers and join us as an organization. All right, some of the fundraisers have definitely scaled back on that, but I will point out that the Plunge and the chili cook-off, we were able to get those in before the pandemic really kicked in. And both this year, we raised more than any other year before. So they were two very highly successful events. And then our trout race and the Auto Bell fundraiser were both very highly successful as well. This year was the best year ever for those two. So less fundraisers, but the ones we did have seemed to do better than history has shown. All right, I gotta end with the Plunge. Just some fun pictures. We raised almost $40,000. What a fun event. It is gonna happen next year. It will be different though. We'll have to adapt to the pandemic. But Canton Pool is very open to us doing it again. They have some concerns, so we have to work out how we're going to do it. But so watch for the email media bombardments, which happen every year. And I apologize in advance. I'm not too sorry for it, really. I want you to come out and enjoy it. And some great team efforts, I'll point out. Mr. Geenan highlighting how warm that water is in the lower right. All right, so upcoming events, we're still a little bit concerned about the pandemic, but there are a few things that we can plan around on smaller scale, isolated outdoors. So we'll be rolling these things out. Watch for your inboxes both fundraisers and engagement education activities. I can't forget to name the partners. We're a staff of 3, a great board and volunteers that are all volunteers, I should say. So they can only do so much. So we couldn't do it without the public agencies, businesses, private landowners to help get this done. All right, so with that, let me entertain a few questions if anyone has it before we go to Jesse. If you want to drop it in your chat box or just speak out loud. All right, well, I know that all of you know how to get a hold of me if you need to. So it is time for the business part of our meeting. This is in our bylaws, so all you members unmute your TV, unmute your screens, and Jesse Fowler is going to go through our slate of directors. Go ahead, Jesse.
Thank you, Eric. Before we start the business, I just want to say that I'm always so impressed with the amount of work that Haywood Waterways is able to accomplish with really the members, the volunteers, and the very small staff that we have. It's really quite impressive. But like you said, we've got some business to go over. So I'm going to start with the directors who have retired this year in 2020. Tim Petrie, who was our old president, he started in 2015. Clark Williams has been with us since 2014. Joy Garland, who started with Haywood Waterways in 2015, and Brian Schaefer, who started in 2018. And it's our tradition at Haywood Waterways to donate $50 for every retiring director to the Pink Francis Scholarship Fund at the Haywood Community College. And that fund was established in 2001 in memory of Pink Francis by the Haywood Soil and Water Conservation District for students in the Natural Resources Program. And this is where the real business begins for all you members. So like Eric said, please unmute your mics. We have a few members that are joining and renewing this year. 3 new directors joined us recently. The first one is Dave Angel, who is the owner of Elevated Mountain Distilling Company in Maggie Valley. Tim Garrett, who is an environmental specialist and accelerated technical assistant conservation for the Accelerated Technical Assistant Conservation Program at the NC Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And Hanny Murter, who is the conservation director for the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy. We have 4 directors up for renewal, the first being Lauren Bishop, the second being Bill Aker, the third being James Uke, and the fourth being Marty Prevost. And so now, with all of the members unmuted, I would like to hear a motion to approve the membership.
I so moved.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you, Kay. Can I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Well, that's a good sound of silence there. Motion carries. Thank you all. And thank you all the members, not only for allowing us to continue with the Haywood Waterways, but for all the work that you guys and all the volunteers allow us to accomplish. Also, according to the bylaws, the board of directors elects the officers, and all have agreed to renew, those officers being the president, who is Susan Klemek, myself as the vice president, Don Eba as the treasurer, and Yvonne Hanna as the secretary. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over. Thank you all of you members, and especially thank you for any volunteers.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. Well done. Now it is time for our awards. This is a fun thing that we do every year, and I won't say anything more other than we have video clips of all the winners that I'll be showing to you. All right, James, it's on to you.
Okay, greetings, everybody. Each year we recognize several individuals or organizations that have worked to protect and improve the streams, rivers, and lakes in our beautiful county. Tonight, Hani Mueller, Don Ebo, and I have the extreme pleasure of presenting this year's awards. We're going to start with the Partner of the Year Award. Success in today's world is dependent on forming effective partnerships. Without them, we would not have been able to achieve much. We've honored many critical partners over the years, and this year is no different. This year's Big Creek Award for Partner of the Year is presented to our local Trout Unlimited Cataloochee chapter. As an organization that places water conservation as one of its top priorities, we share similar values. The local chapter is a longtime supporter of our work. They're a consistent volunteer at Kids in the Creek, help with community trash cleanups, and assist with benthic macroinvertebrate water quality monitoring. They also frequently invite us to speak at their monthly meetings. And Tommy Thomas, chapter president, donated a beautifully restored bamboo fly rod for our trout race this year. Though they've not been able to as much this year, they coordinate volunteer engagement activity each time Wildlife Resources Commission stocks trout. Those are a lot of fun, and trying to lug a bucket with a 5-pound trout flopping around is quite an experience. They also support Project Healing Waters, Healing Those Who Serve, a nationwide program dedicated to the physical and emotional rehabilitation of disabled active military service personnel and disabled veterans through fly fishing. But perhaps the biggest effort is helping to host the River Course Cold Water Conservation and Fly Fishing Youth Camp, which emphasizes the conservation of cold water fisheries, while at the same time teaching campers the basics of fly fishing, a sport for a lifetime. Established in 2002, River Course provides a high-quality camping experience for boys and girls between the ages of 13 and 15 years old at Lake Logan. Campers receive instruction in specialized areas such as herpetology, geology, entomology, botany, wetlands ecology, stream restoration techniques, and environmental policy. In addition, fly fishing is covered in detail with topics such as casting, fly tying, equipment, knot tying, and stream etiquette. So for your contributions to water conservation in Haywood County, we are very pleased to present Trout Unlimited Cataloochee chapter with our Partner of the Year Award. Yay!
I'll play a little
Very
video.
good.
Good morning. My name is Tommy Thomas. I'm the president of Cataloochee chapter of Trout Unlimited. With us here today is Dan Thompson, member of the board of directors and vice president of the Cataloochee chapter. And we are extremely honored to be named Partner of the Year for Haywood Waterways. It is a rare occasion that we get to express this and how much enjoyment we have had with your organization. Cataloochee chapter of Trout Unlimited is a conservation organization. Our conservation efforts pale to that of Haywood Waterways, the premier organization in the United States. They have the opportunity to be mentor, teacher, and the leader of their organization and serve as that for all the other organizations of their type across our nation. We are very proud to receive this honor and look forward to many years of exposure and working with Haywood Waterways. It's a rare occasion that we have that in the opportunity where someone is our hero. We may never know that that person considers us a hero. And it's so important that you always conduct yourself, because remember, you are their hero. We have the opportunity today to express that in fact Haywood Waterways is our hero. We thank you again and look forward to many years of working together. Dan, did you want to say a couple of words?
No, I think you covered it all. And I appreciate all the assistance the Haywood Waterways volunteers come out and help stop the trout.
All right. Honey?
Great. I'm Hani Muter, and I just recently joined the Haywood Waterways Board. I'm very glad to be here. So, as we all know, volunteers are an essential part of the Haywood Waterways community. There's no way that we could ever accomplish what we do without the army of volunteers that help us every year. They help us collect water quality information, plant trees, pull invasive plants, stencil storm drains, pick up trash, and educate our youth and local citizens about the importance of clean water. We can never thank our volunteers enough for the time and resources they donate to Haywood Waterways, but the Richard T. Alexander Volunteer of the Year Award is just one small way we can give some recognition. Our winners this year are the duo of Donna Macon and Mark Lehman, as you see on the screen. Donna and Mark are strong advocates for clean water. They're here with us tonight. They've been Haywood Waterways members since 2015 and are always helping to talk with people and promote our work. Donna has led our annual Big Creek Flower Hike for many years now, even with a hip injury. This has become so popular that we now have to schedule multiple trips. And with the adaptations we had to make this year, Donna quickly created a fantastic video of a virtual wildflower hike that you can still find on Facebook if you go back to April. If you've ever been on the Plunge or many of our other events, you've most likely seen Mark behind the lens of a camera, whose photos are well used in our promotions. They also volunteer at our public events and serve as backup VWIN volunteers. Donna and Mark, we are extremely thankful to have you as concerned citizens in Haywood County. And to your dedication to improving our waterways, we are pleased to present you with our Volunteer of the Year Award. Yay!
Thank you.
Well, Mark and I are extremely humbled and to be awarded this beautiful Teresa Pennington print and from Haywood Waterways, who we both have loved and supported since we moved here in 2011. First thing we did was buy a rain barrel. We love the rain barrels, but I've enjoyed so much leading the wildflower hikes, and hoping this year we'll get to go in 2021. We're hoping we can go in 2021 once COVID is over. But we thank you very much and love supporting you all.
Yep. Take care. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Donna and Mark. Congratulations. And congratulations to you, Dan. Sorry, you were here in the audience. All right. And then our final award, Mr. Don Ebal.
Hello, folks. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'd like to start my little presentation with a public service announcement. I'm the treasurer for Haywood Waterways, and you heard Eric mention that our memberships are down this year. So I want to have y'all think about last-minute Christmas gifts. If you don't know what to get that special somebody, how about a membership to Haywood Waterways Association? Easy peasy. Christine will hook you right up, and you can put it in a stocking, make a stocking stuffer. You can get it now and pay later. But join our organization and spread the word. Give it to your family members for Christmas. All right, thanks for that. The Pigeon River Award is given to an individual or organization that has made significant contributions to protecting our land and water resources in Haywood County. This year, we honor Bill Yarborough, who is being recognized for his dedication to the preservation and protection of our natural resources. He is an expert in soil management and crop production and is a fervent supporter of sustainable agriculture and clean water. He just retired from NC Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. His last position was Special Assistant to North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture, Steve Troxler. If that gives you an idea of his skills and respect he has earned from decision makers around the state. Bill has served on our board since 2001. He's been there almost as long as I have. And Bill's a critical voice on our technical advisory committee. Bill understands the need for partnerships to get things done, and he has been a great promoter of our work and other natural resources such as Haywood Soil and Water Conservation District, the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. He continues to serve as chairman of Haywood Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors. We think the Pigeon River Award is a pretty big deal, but it may pale in comparison to the Order of the Longleaf Pine. This is the highest honor a citizen can receive in North Carolina, and Bill received that in 2018 from Governor Cooper. Now that's a testament to his service and dedication. Did y'all hear that? The Longleaf, Order of Longleaf Pine. Again, congratulations for that, Bill. Listen to some of the other awards that he's won. He's got the State Employee of the Year in 2006, inducted into the Western North Carolina Agriculture Hall of Fame in 2011. He's chosen as Outstanding Conservation District Supervisor in 2012, and he was inducted into the North Carolina Mountain State Fair Livestock Hall of Fame in 2016. I need a break. I'm exhausted. The other thing about Bill is he cooks a mean Boston butt, and if you've ever been to one of our summer membership picnics, hopefully you had some of that. Bill, we are honored to present you with the 2020 Pigeon River Award for your dedication to the protection of clean water and our natural resources. Thank you, Bill.
What an honor. I cannot believe that Haywood Waterways, with the support that we've had so many years, thank you, have given me this presentation. This is not a presentation for me personally. I think it's a cooperative agreement. In the beginning of Haywood Waterways, Pink Francis was the first chairman. He was the charter. He put this program together with a partnership in mind between the Haywood Soil and Water Conservation District, Haywood Waterways Association, and what became of that with projects like I'm standing here today. This is at Francis Cove Methodist Church. There was an easement that the church donated to get this creek at Raccoon to be able to reduce the amount of sediment that went into Lake Gilluska. And what a program it has been. This has been here many years. It's still stable. It's testament of what Haywood Waterways, Haywood Soil and Water Conservation, the districts, the county, all the partnerships, Clean Water Management Trust Fund funded this. So this partnership goes on today. So I'm grateful to this award, but in so many ways it's a testament of what partnerships and what true partnerships mean. Thanks again, heartfelt. I don't deserve it, but I sure appreciate it. Thanks.
Way to go, Bill.
Yep. Thank you, Mark and Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dan and Tommy, Trout Unlimited. Thank you for what you do for clean water. I'd have to give them a round of applause if we could, or thumbs up, or shake your hands. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So with that, I think we're bound to Suzanne.
Yeah. I just want to begin the closing of our meeting by first just saying that this whole evening to me has been, you know, rejuvenating and uplifting. It's been fun being with y'all, even though we can't be together in person. So thanks for coming. We do want to also thank some outgoing board members who left us this year: Clark Williams, Tim Petrie, Brian Schaefer, and Joy Garland. all of these folks have been such big contributors to our success, and we appreciate all that they have given to us, and you know, wish them well and everything that they will do, but they know that they'll still hear from us because we know where they live. And then we also want to go on and thank our members again for joining us tonight, and remind you of ways that you can still continue to give. You can always please renew, consider, as Dawn said, membership as a gift. It's thoughtful and easy and cost effective. We have estate planning resources that you can avail yourself to if that's something that you're interested in, as well as giving programs. You know, sign up for our newsletters and what have you, so that you can find out when we have volunteer opportunities, and please join us in those. They're fun. You can see in the pictures that we had tonight that folks enjoy those endeavors. It's time to come together and, you know, create something greater out of working together. We also want to extend an invitation at our strategic planning meeting that we have every year in November. We talked about wanting to invite members of our organization to join particular subcommittees that help us accomplish our goals. Particularly fundraising and special events, where that committee talks about, you know, some of the production aspects of the polar plunge or anything that we might have going on like that. We also have a committee on membership and public relations, where we could, you know, we would appreciate your thoughts and involvement in developing ways to invite more membership and involve the public better in our organization. So if any of you have any interest in participating in any of these committees, please feel free to contact me or Eric. We'll be happy to talk to you about what it involves and, you know, get you connected to that. We've also, you know, the Adopt a Stream program, the citizen scientist volunteers. Those are all other ways that you can get involved, but we just welcome your involvement. It's important to us, and we just want to remind you of ways you can do that. And so finally, I'm going to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want everybody to have a happy holiday. Is there another slide, Eric? I can't remember.
Yep, there it is.
Oh, okay. We hope you've enjoyed your evening, and we really do hope you have a happy and safe holidays. I don't know about y'all, but we're doing things very small and different this year. But, you know, we've got our tree up, and appreciating the connections that we do have, like this one tonight. And I just thank you all for coming. And please know that you're always in our thoughts, and you mean everything to us. And you can find us if you need us. Anything else, Eric?
I was going to say thank you, Suzanne. Thank you all the speakers tonight. Thank you to all our members who joined us tonight. I am going to be the last one off tonight, but if you want to stick around and ask me a question, I'm more than happy to stick around and answer it, or try to. So if not, wish you all good night and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Susan. Thank you, Eric.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for doing
Eric.
all the work.
Thank you, Suzanne. Bye.
Guys, thank you guys.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Good night, everyone.
Donna and Mark, thank you for everything. You guys are so great.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping
I hope we get to do the hot wildflower hike. That's like one of my favorite things ever.
Thank you. Yeah. It's the flowers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric, for everything you do.
Thank you, Eric.
All the staff.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank
Okay,
you all
I got
so
a green
much.
waste update. I'll email it to you soon.
Fantastic.
Move behind.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
All right, Suzanne. So
Eric, I think that went really well.
I think so too.
Thanks
So
for all your work on it. It was great.
I don't want to do it again though. I want to do it in person.
Me too. I miss it. I really do. It's a great, it's a lovely evening when we do it, but you worked it out. So thank you so much.
And if we need to, we will do it again. So all right, Suzanne.
I think we'll be good.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
You too. Merry Christmas.